Thank you for staying here. It's already late now, but we have a great session now on AI, neuroscience, and how it impacts our industry. So we have people coming from abroad. So I'm very glad to welcome Patrick from Vionlabs from Sweden, Caroline, who comes from Israel, and then we have Frenchies, Emmanuel and Marc, and also Anne-Claire. I really thank you for coming. She will be translating Marc so that we can have his very interesting point of view on the question as well. So it was really important to. So thank you for your time. There's a lot to say. I already know that in 30 minutes we won't be saying much, not even start any debate. So to save some time, I've asked our 3 startups to actually present what they do. So Caroline, please, if you want to start introducing the Vault Analytics. Thank you. You can talk there.
Yes. Okay, hi. My name is Caroline Wanne. I head up worldwide entertainment at Vault, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what we do and how AI influences content decision making. So my first question is, has someone watched The Meg, that movie? Hands up, someone watched it? No one? I will come back to it later, it's fine. So what do we do? So the simple explanation is that we're a story company. And the long, well, at Vault, we leverage state-of-art AI and deep learning to analyze scripted and visual story elements. Our AI analyzes for 100,000 plus story elements to predict what an audience will look like, their needs and activation points at any stage. We work with our partners at script stage outline, marketing stages, even trailer and release stages. And we work across movies and television and OTT. But one big misconception is that there's no research performed when we look at deciding on what movies and TV shows to produce. But that's actually not true, it's not the case. In order to visualize an audience at an early stage, entertainment companies will use a two-tiered approach. They will use comps or similar movies to compare and predict outcomes. And then they will use also focus or surveys for market research. And but our partners overlay another process with a three-tiered approach using AI. And to help boost the current research methods with high degree of accuracy. So we have been predicting for every movie coming out every week, every single weekend now for a couple of years. And to date, we're 75% accurate to the opening weekend box office. And here are some of our strong winners. So for example, Crazy Rich Asians, we predicted 24.5 million, actually made 26.5, so it's like pretty close. Coco, 51.8, it was actually 50. Black Panther, 210 million, and but it was 202 million, so kind of close. And we predict across any sizes, like if it's wide release, limited release, but also even Netflix titles we do as well. So here I have also an example of how it looks like when users, what they get when they're at script stage. So then they get a prediction from us how the opening weekend looks at every screen size stage. And another example is Here we can see how distributors will use our platform to align their marketing and trailers with the actual demographics that will actually show up at the box office. And also, here an example based on a TV script prediction, the level of demand in North America, and also which platform is the best, would be the best. So now back to the mag. Big budget, the mag heads for tablet 20 million plus. That's what the Hollywood Reporter said one day before it was released. But it went on making actually 45 million. And Volt was able to predict this with a high degree of accuracy, 20 weeks in advance. So that's it.
Thank you, Caroline. And we'll move on right away with Vionlabs. Patrick, please.
I'll just skip the next one. And I'll, given the limited amount of time, I'll try to go through this pretty quickly. We are trying to solve a problem that's very eminent. I mean, a lot of the recommendations you see in systems when you go in to find your content is based on metadata. That's metadata, that's someone else producing and writing about the content that you're about to see. And if you look into the keywords, looking at movies like Passengers, you would have some that are fairly good and some that are terrible. Trying to cluster all movies that contains a crying man or a crying woman wouldn't give you a proper way of saying, you watch this, you should be watching this. There's been a couple of ideas and thoughts of how to solve it, and Google has been working quite hard with image recognition, object recognition, trying to bring out different aspects. But if you look at a movie like this, they would probably be somewhere around the lines of saying there's a man, there's a woman, there's a space. It's not very coherent to what a director is trying to tell you about the movie. So instead, we try to reverse engineer the emotional context, the emotional construct, because everything that goes into a movie is made to make you feel something, made to make you experience something. And if we look at a specific example, have you seen Defenders on Netflix? It's a show where they merged 4 Marvel superhero shows together. In order to tell the story in a good way, they gave each and every one of these story or heroes a color. So all of them have their own series. Daredevil has red. And if you look at a scene early on in the series where Daredevil is visiting Jessica Jones, another of the key characters, you can already see how the director is working with colors to tell you that you are in Brooklyn, which with the predominantly blue color will tell you. It'll also tell you that Jessica Jones as a character is in control in this scene. Daredevil, being the red door behind him, signifies that he's there visiting. So without having to be outspoken about it, the director can tell you lots of different things around the scene. So what we've done is we've broken it down. And this is what we call fingerprints. This is 2 or 3 data points out of about 40 that we break out of content when we do the analysis. So what you see is 2 James Bond movies. You have first on this end, an older one. You can see the breadth of the tile represents the length of that specific scene. And then you can see the different, the movement of the tile represents the action within that specific scene, measured by how pixels movement, how the objects move within the scene. You can already in this say that even though they are in the same franchise, they speak to 2 completely different demographics. If you look at movies, the middle one here being the first Alien movie, and you have Space Odyssey 2001, surprisingly similar metadata, very, very different movies. And if you look at the third one we're showing here, which is the second Alien movie, where James Cameron essentially ruined the franchise by giving you xenomorphs and aliens and explosions everywhere instead of bringing out all the nice horror stuff of it. And all of this, nothing of this is there of chance, and everything there is because someone wants you to experience something. So if we look at an older movie, say Top Gun, what we did here is we trained the algorithms to recognize how a human would perceive the emotions. And if you look at this, the above one shows you how a human predicts that, or a machine predicts that a human perceives the movie. And I'm going to spoil Top Gun. Is that okay with everyone? So, because in the middle here, you see there's a key scene. This is where Goose dies. And this is not a machine that's been trained to watch Top Gun. This is a machine that's been trained on thousands and thousands of audio and video clips to predict how and what scenes would be perceived as negative or stressful. And where Goose dies, it's a clear negative dip. We can also see the typical 80s structure, where you have the long, traditional, dragged-out fight scene in the end, where you can see how it progressively becomes more stressful and more negative, whilst the positive ending also. I mean, just take that in for a while. This is the first time we can automatically, by doing the emotional analysis, predict whether a human would perceive this to be a movie that ends positively or not. This is pretty cool. We use this to produce recommendations, essentially. Traditional ones, if you go for The Martian. Martian is a nice example because it's a sci-fi, but it doesn't have very much sci-fi elements in it. I'm not going to bore you with the difference of collaborative filtering, which is essentially the Amazon. People who watch this also watch this, which gives you pretty strange recommendations. But if you look at the difference when we use our type of data, where we take into account the tempo, the structure, the emotional construct of it, you can see how the tempo drops. You can see movies like Arrival or different ones that have a lot of slower kind of paced storytelling showing up. They're still in the sci-fi genre, but they are very, very different. It's not Guardians of the Galaxy to Martian. I can show you a number of examples here, which I won't go into, but say weekly discovery, daily discovery, notifications, all of this is based around understanding how you cluster content. So that's really what we're trying to build there. We're trying to bring back the emotional essence of the movie into doing the predictions and recommendations. And by doing that, we can create a much more personal experience. This is also sorting. And this is the last thing I'm going to show you, hoping the sounds work now. Because one of the really cool things about this, since we can predict how the movie is structured emotionally, we can also automatically create trailers. And what I'm going to show you is it's about a minute where we had our computers, based on the emotional structure of the content, take out 1 minute worth of scenes out of Life of Pi to give it a proper representation emotionally. It's more to guide you and aid your discovery than to tell you the story. And a computer choose all the scenes, choose the songs, and cut the entire piece. This is untouched by human hands. That's a lot of information in 5 minutes. I hope you kind of grasp the idea of what we're trying to create. And
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. So Emmanuel. So now we are moving to neuroscience. So it's another approach.
Oh, right. Is there something I have to do? Ah, right. Okay, great. So my name is Emmanuel Kuster. I am a project manager at the Fiction Lab, which is both a research program on cognitive science and also a startup trying to help producers, broadcasters, and creators on their audience issues. So with this little presentation, we'll try to make you understand how cognitive science can help you if you are working on contents. So let's start with an example. I hope most of you have seen these movies. This is The Matrix. And this is the scene in the movie when Morpheus is asking to Neo if he wants to pick up the blue pills and go back to the Matrix, or take the red pill and sing the truth. And as a viewer, when you see this, you probably might think that Neo is going to pick up the red pills. Why? Because if he takes the blue pill, the story ends and the movie is finished. So he is more likely to take the red pill. This is anticipation. But you cannot be 100% sure of it. So there is a little uncertainty. Anticipation with uncertainty. This is the basis of suspense. And now, if you put some electrodes on the head of the viewer, you will observe that when Morpheus is asking the question pops up in the mind of the audience at the same time, and there is a specific wave, a wave P600, that is generated by the brain. So we can turn to scientists and ask them, can you study those waves and tell us something interesting about how suspense works? And the answer is yes. The answer is, you will notice that at any moment in your story, if you don't have at minimum 3 open questions in the mind of your audience, the interest will quickly drop. So if you're working on the content, you should check your question system. So, so a question that increases uncertainty is called a CFX. CFX stands for cognitive spatial effects. A CFX, it's a piece of information that when embedded in the content, you can predict an effect on the mind. So again, a question that raises uncertainty, but it can be a sound that generates fear. It can be a situation of injustice to the weak that elicits emotion. And part of the job at the Fiction Lab is to collect and identify CFX, up to 300 for the moment. And the other part of the job is to use CFX to calculate a level of action, a level of uncertainty, a level of violence, a level of stress, of complexity, in order to visualize all the audience satisfaction factors of a given content, and being able to compare it to some audience references, like the 3 open questions, the Matrix example, or to compare it with competitors, or to compare it with successful shows. Sorry. Tools, not rules. I like this from Pixar, and my conclusion would be that I would like you to understand that with this new approach of cognitive science, we just are trying to help, not to format. So tools, not rules. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Emmanuel. So I'm sure there will be a lot of questions on how all those things work, because it's quite technical sometimes, but unfortunately we won't have time to go very deep into the magic, but you can ask later our participants. But just to summarize, because you have like 3 different approaches, so to summarize what we just heard, maybe you can tell us maybe 2 opportunities for broadcasters and producers, so for our industry, your product, but also like the limit, especially on AI and even neuroscience. Sometimes we have bad ideas on that, okay, we can do everything with it, that AI is going to replace writers, or so where can we go, or not? What can we expect from science? Patrick, if you want to start.
I can start. I think we can expect, or my hopes is that we can expect that humans will be able to focus more on the creation. And because I think in the end, human creativity is going to be hard, or probably even impossible to replace fully, and not even desirable to replace. We should create with humans, and then we scale it up and automate it by machines. I mean, if we take all the editors that are out in the world now creating really uninteresting lists, spending 80% of the time just filling up a list for some kind of channel or ID, if they can spend their time on creating the top 5 lists and then have a computer automate everything else, that creativity is going to be unleashed in a lot better way, and people will have a lot more fun at work. So I think that's the tools part here is where the computers come in.
Caroline?
Yeah, it is. Okay, so our system supposed to be more like a tool for executives and producers to like enhance, to help, to boost what they need to do. So it's because they're making like millions of dollars worth of decisions, and this should make them easier and just to help them actually. Because they've done it until now as well, but more with like survey and focus groups, or even just like gut decisions. So it should be like more precise and easier to make decisions for executives.
Okay. Thank you.
Hello? Yes. Well, I think that's opportunities with cognitive science for the industry is that just to have a new tool to analyze content and to help creators to reflect on their contents. Sometimes you can work on a script for 2 years and not manage to make the project because you cannot find what the special thing is missing in your script. So maybe this can help. The limitation is that we are at the beginning of something, so we are making a lot of mistakes. We have to do a lot of explanation about those new tools. And well, we are looking for partners. We are looking for writers that want to test the tools in order to improve and show them that cognitive science can help, and also that neuroscience is making a lot of progress these years and more. So I think this is something we need to follow to stay up to date.
Okay, so lots of business opportunities from what I can hear. I'm going to turn to Marc, who is a scriptwriter. So how do you see the impact of those technologies or science on your work? How does that impact the creative process?
Alors moi je vais être un petit peu la voix décalée, un petit peu le poil à gratter, je ne sais pas comment traduire ça, mais déjà.
Well, I'm going to open the debate and be kind of an opposite point of view on this subject.
Quand on a demandé à Marguerite Duras ce qu'elle pensait de ce qu'allait être l'avenir, elle avait répondu dans l'avenir, il n'y aura plus de questions, il n'y aura que des réponses. Je pense que c'est exactement ce que nous sommes en train de vivre.
When we asked Marguerite Duras about what she thought about the future, she said in the future there will be no more questions, there will be only answers, and I think this is what we are living right now.
En fait, on oublie un petit peu que le rôle de l'artiste, quel qu'il soit, ce n'est pas de répondre à des vérités révélées, mais au contraire de questionner les vérités de son époque. Et je pense que là, l'artiste ne doit pas essayer de répondre aux algorithmes, mais de questionner les algorithmes.
We often forget that the role of the artist is not to respond, to reveal truth, but to question the truth of his time.
D'abord parce que l'intelligence artificielle, quelle qu'elle soit, donne souvent l'illusion d'une neutralité, d'une vérité objective. Et là, je voudrais dire qu'il n'y a pas de vérité objective dans ce que nous sommes en train de regarder. Il y a un point de vue, c'est celui de l'économie de marché et absolument pas celui de la création.
Behind artificial intelligence, there is the illusion of objectivity, neutrality. But this truth can be used for the market economy, but not for artistic creation.
Okay, so I don't know if one of you want to answer or react to that point.
I can agree to a very large extent. I think creativity has to do with humans promoting an idea, and I think a lot of the AI today stems to further that process. I mean, a big part of what we're trying to do is trying to bring out the values that directors put in the movies, because it's not being shown today with the use of metadata, with the use of very easy descriptions, but rather to say we know that a director works with colors and different types of music. Look at a movie like Dunkirk. Dunkirk was exceptionally put in terms of music to create a stressful environment to make you perceive what the soldiers perceived on that beach. And the entire concept, the entire structure, the entire scenes, everything goes to give you that emotion. If you're looking at a description of the movie, that's never gonna describe that emotion. That's what the AI can do, because the AI can sort things that aren't sortable with human words. And that gives us a tool to say, if you enjoyed or want to perceive this type of emotion, that's the type of emotion that you can find related in other types of content. It can give you a direction, I think, in the same direction that you're trying to do, to say that we have a public here that's underserved of this emotion. That we see a lot of people wanting to watch content that gets you a certain type of feeling. The content in itself, it's only 10 assets in the catalog. So one of the key tools that we're trying to develop and bring to market as a next step, that's in order to help the people procuring the content to say, we know that your audience at the moment is underserved in this area. These are the titles from out the global content directory that you should try to acquire.
Le problème que nous rencontrons avec ces outils,
the problem of these tools,
c'est que jusqu'à maintenant,
is that from now on,
l'artiste créait et il rencontrait ou pas le marché.
the artist would create and meet or not the market.
Le danger avec ces outils,
The danger with these tools
c'est que le marché va dicter au créatif ce qu'il doit créer.
is that the market will order the artists how to create and what to create.
Ça pose une vraie question existentielle.
And there's a core question about that.
Pourquoi l'artiste crée? Est-ce que c'est pour répondre au marché ou est-ce que c'est pour parler de l'humain, du désir humain?
Why is the artist creating? Is it to respond to the market, or is it to reply to like a form of humanity desire, human desire?
Je parle de désir parce que le désir, je pense que le désir n'est pas quantifiable, il n'est pas mesurable, il n'est pas rationalisable.
I don't think desire is miserable. I don't think desire is like something like a quantity that you can measure.
Maybe Emmanuel, you want to add
well,
something to that?
What I would answer to to Marc is that, of course, our tools are not made to help artists to do. Yes, sorry. What I will answer is that our tools are not made to help artists to do to win a Palme d'Or. We are dealing with entertainment, and in entertainment, part of the pleasure is techniques. When you go to see a thriller, when you go to see a comedy, when you want to see an action or a detective story, you are expecting some certain patterns. And if they are not in the movie, you are a bit disappointed. So I think what we can try to rationalize is this aspect of entertainment, right? And if you want to, if we take two successful shows like House of Cards or Game of Thrones, I don't think they are reinventing the way we plot stories or reinventing new ways of creating suspense. But what they did is that their originality is in the moral design of the series, which is most of series are about how to act properly in a morally challenged world. And what they did is they flip this aspect, and they show a series about winning the game, about and this ability to kill. To kill characters that act morally. So I think there are techniques we can help writers, creators on those aspects to liberate time for thinking about the creation. But certainly we won't replace artists in the outer sense.
Oui, mais là aussi, je vais me ranger du côté de ce qu'était Christoph Albrecht à HBO. Il se voyait comme un mécène à la Renaissance.
Well, keep on.
Et il a accepté de continuer à financer une série comme The Wire, qui aujourd'hui est considérée comme un chef-d'œuvre de la série.
I'd like to give the example of Christoph Albrecht at HBO, who decided to finance
Ouais, The Wire.
The Wire.
The Wire, de David Simon, qui ne faisait à la fin de son... D'ailleurs, la première saison avait fait 4 millions de spectateurs seulement.
The first season was about like 4 million viewers only.
Et il a accepté d'aller jusqu'à la saison 5, qui ne faisait plus que 200 000 spectateurs aux États-Unis.
And he accepted to finance the project till the 5th season, which was watched by 2,000 spectators, viewers.
Audience.
Yeah.
Et donc c'est on va dire, d'un point de vue purement suspense, c'est un ratage absolu.
It's an absolute fail in terms of audience.
Mais c'est de l'art. Je prendrai le même exemple avec Citizen Kane ou La Porte du Paradis de Michael Cimino, qui se sont lamentablement plantés.
But it's art, and I would take the same example with Citizen Kane or La Porte du Paradis.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I think it's not just now that artists had the issue with they have to produce something to make money. I think that has been always the case, and also, like I see it in our case, because we're working with major studios, and they always look for making money, and they were always looking at they're taking a script and we're looking, okay, doing a survey about it or comparing it to other movies and seeing, because they wanted to know if it makes money already before. So when we offer our product, it's just making it a little bit more accurate and to help them, because they have done it until now as well, the studios, that they want to know if the movie works, if the movie makes money. They always wanted to know it even before.
Oui, mais La Porte du Paradis de Michael Cimino n'aurait jamais vu le jour si c'était passé par vos systèmes d'algorithmes et qu'ils avaient été justes.
Yes, but La Porte du Paradis wouldn't have worked or wouldn't have been broadcast if it had been analyzed by your systems, probably.
Michael Cimino n'aurait pas pu faire le chef-d'œuvre qu'il a fait.
Michael Cimino wouldn't have been able to create the masterpiece that he did if it had been analyzed by your systems.
Okay, well,
not.
that's
Maybe
a question
not.
mark. We don't know because we didn't have those algorithms at that time. But, well, the debate, I think, is just starting because, well, those technology, AI and neuroscience, as it's been said, we're just at the beginning. So I guess that the lesson of today is that we need to work closely, like tech, science, and producers, broadcasters, artists all together to make it work and to make art and things that are really relevant for entertainment, but also for society. Yeah. So unfortunately, we won't have a lot of time for questions, maybe just one, if there is one. No. Okay, perfect. So thank you very much.